Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin and today I thought we would do a tour of the garden. It's been about 6 weeks since I did my last tour and there's so much happening in the garden. So I thought I'd bring you guys along. I just poured myself a drink and to be honest, I'm not having a good day and I didn't want to do this tour today. I was gonna wait and I was gonna wait until I was in a better mood and I thought, you know what, the thing that always makes me the happiest and like cheers me up is my garden. So we're gonna do the tour today because it cheers me up. So I don't know why I'm in a mood, I'm just kind of like, it's just one of those days. So garden tour is gonna cheer me up. But what I want to show you first before we get to the garden is all of these raspberries. There are so stinking many. So when it comes to a lot of your fruits and vegetables, especially your fruits, you really want to harvest them in the morning and that's when they're sweeter. If you harvest them in the evening, what happens is the heat of the day, and it was a really hot day today, the heat of the day kind of zaps up all their extra sugar and they're not as sweet as they would be first thing in the morning because the heat's been working on the sugars. So I have a ton of raspberries that are coming and they're starting to turn brown or starting to turn black now. They're black raspberries, so maybe purple. But I have a whole bunch in there that are getting ready. So I'm probably gonna give them another day or two so I can get a really good harvest. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pick a whole bunch of them. I don't quite know what I'm gonna do with them yet. I know I'm gonna juice a whole bunch to make the juice for things like drinks and kombucha and stuff like that. I also I love to eat fresh raspberries. So I know I'm gonna just eat like fresh raspberries, but I don't quite know what I'm gonna do with, because that's a lot. That is a lot of raspberries. That's more than I've ever had. So I'm super excited to see how well they all do. So let me show you first. We haven't had a ton of growth in this new bed down here yet, but let me bring you down and show you what is happening. So that garden is doing beautiful things. I had a blue rose on my birthday roses. I bought 2 roses that I put in this bed. This one is a blue long-stemmed rose and she gave me her first rose on Memorial Day. So that was exciting. But the only thing about her is it bloomed for literally 24 hours. She opened and she wilted and died all within 24 hours. So I'm not sure if that's like a nutrient issue. I'm not sure what that was. I also have some sunflowers. I had that really cute sunflower in the garden right there. You can see it a little bit. But all of my sunflowers this year, I don't know if I got a special variety, but I have a couple that are just super short. They're not tall at all. And I really did want some towering massive sunflowers and I don't think I got that this year. So I'm just gonna make note to get some for next year. And what I have learned, and so this is the thing I love about gardening. I have people that ask me all the time, or people that comment on my Instagram or my Facebook or whatever, and they're like, why, like, how do you learn the things? Or you know so much, or it's intimidating, or I'm too intimidated to learn. And it's one of those things where you just gotta keep learning. So for instance, for me, I don't know, I didn't know you could get sunflowers that were not just automatically tall. So I just like that it's such a learning experience and it's a learning curve and you learn something new every single season. I'm guaranteed to learn something new and I really like that. So these beds behind me are my beets and my carrots. And this is the first year that I've had a shade cloth on them. And if you saw, I just kind of had the shade cloth laying on top of the plants. And the plants are a little like pushed down because they have something like laying on them, but they are doing so much better with this shade cloth. My beets have easily tripled in size. They really filled out this bed nicely. My carrots have some weeds, and my carrots are doing really great as well. So they are really appreciating the shade cloth. So these are probably going to go to my beets and my carrots probably another month until I'm going to take them out, process them, and I'm going to plant some more in some other locations. With these though, or particularly with the shade cloth, my goal for this summer is to actually get the pipes and actually make it so my shade cloth doesn't need to lay directly on my plants. I can actually just kind of cover the bed and not have it lay on the plants. So that's a project for the summer. Something that didn't go well this year is my garlic. You can see my garlic is laying over. It's not standing up anymore. It's not looking good. So I don't water my garlic ever. I just let the rainwater do its job. This is the second year trying to grow garlic, and this is the second year that my garlic I think is rotten in the ground. Every now and then I keep trying to come and pull on the garlic, and it's not coming up, so it's still attached to the ground, which tells me that it's not rotten yet. And I did pull one head and it was very small, so I don't think any of these are ready to come out. They should come out around July 4th, so I'm really gonna try to push it until July 4th and then bring them out and see, do I have anything that's salvageable or is it all bad? But this is the last year I'm doing garlic like this. Just the reason being, I don't water this garlic, and this is the second year that the tops have fallen over and it's rotted. Well, hopefully not rotted, but this is not what garlic should look like. So next year, I'm gonna try garlic one more time, and next year I'm going to cover this bed in plastic so that I alone control the watering for the garlic bed. I'm not going to let it up to Mother Nature. I'm gonna do the garlic watering myself. Garlic only needs 1 inch of water a week, and especially in the spring, we definitely get a lot more than that. So my plan for next year is one more year, cover the bed in plastic, and really control the water and completely myself. But in this bed, I also have some kale. I planted some kale where I had some holes, and I've been harvesting a lot of kale. It's been really fun. So I've been harvesting a lot of kale, and I've been eating some fresh salads. I've been gifting some of it away, but I've also been freezing it. So when I freeze it, I don't blanch it. I just wash it, take it off of the stem, cut it into like the bite-sized pieces, tear it into bite-sized pieces, and then I flash freeze it on a cookie sheet. And then once it's flash frozen, put it in my bags and put it in the freezer. And that's gonna work really, really well. Kale defrosts really, really well. So I'm not worried at all about that. And it's gonna be great. I love to make the Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana soup. It's sausage and kale soup. I love that in the winter. It's one of my favorite soups. So this will be great, especially in the wintertime. Kale is expensive. You buy a big bag of kale, at least last winter it was $5. I guarantee it's gonna be more this winter, but it's $5. And they already have it put into small pieces with the ribs attached. So I'm not 100% sure why it's like that, but it's not done easily. So this is gonna just be so much easier. The kale was super easy to grow. It's very prolific. I'm getting a ton of kale off of it, so I'm really happy and really excited about that. So I'm going to definitely be planting some more kale in my fall garden. Now we take a gander over here. If I spin you around, that's a lot of green stuff. AKA that is a lot of weeds. So one of my chores this summer, well, I guess it was actually this spring, is I completely mulched this whole space. I've really been working hard on getting this garden to be really, really pretty. I added an entire new space over here, and it's definitely a lot of work. And again, I have a full-time job. I'm trying to have some sort of a social life, not really succeeding, but it definitely is a lot of work. So this year I'm really trying to allow myself the peace and the you know, you're allowed to have weeds. Weeds happen. And in a garden, it's one of the things you kind of have to accept. So what I am trying to do is over here, the rest of my summer will be spent, not the rest of it, I'll spend like a weekend, but I'll get some more cardboard, I'll lay some cardboard. I still have a little bit of mulch pile left from the wood chips that got delivered in March, and this is where the rest of those mulch, the rest of that mulch is going to go, is right over here. And then we're just kind of going to deal with the weeds. The weeds will be here and it'll be just fine. We're still going to have a very prolific garden. We're still going to get a lot of stuff out of this garden. So over here in that big mess, I have a big old butternut squash plant that I'm just going to train to go out that way, and a lot of a mess. Definitely some things I need to work on in the coming months. So one thing I did this year that I'm really excited about is I just tucked plants everywhere. I've put them everywhere I possibly can think of. So down I have a zucchini plant, I have a catnip plant right off the gate. And what I'm doing is every time I get cardboard for the rest of the year, I'm just taking it out, and you can kind of see down this path, I'm just putting it over weeds. And I'm gonna spend the rest of the year with all the cardboard, putting it on the weeds and just kind of covering everything up again. And just, again, trying to get a handle on the weeds in this place. So here we have my arch coming up, and I've planted some red noodle beans. I planted I think 6 on each side. I didn't have a ton of success. I have one guy on this side. Let me bring you down and show you. I have one guy here. Who is getting some pest damage. We're going to talk about the pest damage. And then I have 2. This one's not looking so great, but I have 1 over here. I had more populate, and I think that bunny that I just chased out of here is definitely eating them. And then I have this here. I don't know what this is. I'm kind of remember if I planted a cucumber here, but I don't remember. See, weeds. I don't remember if this is a cucumber or not. I don't remember. So we're going to see what this guy does. So this space here has gotten a little crazy. We have a lot going on here. Here we have some asparagus. I did plant asparagus in this bed, and it is definitely popping up here. Kind of covered by the zucchini a little bit. But we have 2 massive zucchinis here that are starting to flower. So that is exciting. With my zucchini, I always hand pollinate my zucchini. So this one down here is a male. The 2 flowers I have on this zucchini are males, and then the one next door are females. So how can you tell? Let's pull this guy. So we just have our flower and a straight stem. This is a male flower. The female flower will actually have a little zucchini and then the flower head. And then those 2 right there, you can see with flowers are females. You can see the little zucchini. And then that guy over there with the flower that's a little shriveled, that guy I've already pollinated, so he's starting to grow. So what I do, and I'll come down in the morning and check this out. So you can see there's a male and there's an open female. The flowers open in the morning, and it's the evening right now. So tomorrow morning when they open, I'll take off that male flower, or maybe I'll get the one that I already dropped, and I'll just take out the sternum. I'll rip the petals off the male, I'll open the female, I'll kind of stuff the inside of the male flower into the female flower and rub it around. You'll see the pollen on the male flower, and you just want to get that pollen into the inside of the female flower. Some people use a paintbrush or a Q-tip. I just stick the flower in the male flower and in the female flower. You do need to do that for your zucchini to grow. So ideally you would have bees do it, but I have a lot of blossom end rot. And what happens with that is when your flower isn't pollinated enough, it won't grow a full zucchini. And then the zucchini will actually start to rot before it gets harvestable size. So I don't even rely on the bees anymore. If the bees want to do it, great. But I want to make sure I'm getting zucchini, so I do go and I do it myself. We also have a lot of potatoes. So these potatoes, I did not plant. You can see they're flowering. So they'll actually get picked. You want to wait till about, well, depending on size. You can pick potatoes whenever you want, just for size. But for the bigger potatoes, you want to wait till the plants flower, and then pick your potatoes about 2 weeks after they flower. So I have just a lot of random potatoes. I guess I left a lot in the ground, and I'm okay with that, you know? So I'm gonna go harvest them in about 2 months, or 2 weeks, and we'll see what all I got. You can see my beans down here are doing pretty good. I do have a open area right here. That's my black beans. Some pests really love my black beans this year, and I'm not sure why. But we'll get what we get. I think I might go and try to plant more black beans there. I've already done another planting and they're not coming up great. I think there's just something there that is just eating them. This bed here is just a hodgepodge of things. We got a broccoli that's finally coming. We have some okra. This is some purple okra here. I have some dahlias. I have some zinnias. I have some big old spinaches. So you can see this bed is a complete and total mess. We have one big carrot there, some zinnias, a dahlia, a broccoli that I thought had died and came back, an okra. We have some spinach, more zinnias. Like, it's just a hodgepodge. Another okra, some more spinach. It is a hodgepodge of things. Okay, ignore the weeds. We're just gonna pretend those weeds don't exist. And this is my broccoli bed. So you can see I don't have any broccoli heads. I'll post a picture in here of my biggest broccoli. I actually had to put it in the sink to kind of get an idea on the size. But if you come in here, you can see right in there was obviously my main stem. You can see where I cut it, but you can see how my broccoli is starting to put off some more side shoots. They're all putting off side shoots, which is super fun. And this happens when they split like this. This happens when they get too hot. So these will honestly, next year I'm gonna get shade cloth for my broccoli because they all kind of loosened up. You can see they loosened up a little bit. And I want to keep them nice and tight. So I think next year I'm definitely going to get some shade cloth for these guys. But the broccoli is doing really, really well. And I came in here and I do have some flowers planted in here. There's a snapdragon. There's a Cosmo. I do have some flowers planted in here. They're not really doing too much, but I thought I'd plant them and see what happens. Next, look at my peas. This is the best year of peas that I've had. The best year. They have probably grown, honestly, about 5 inches in the last handful of days. Like, they are massive. And they're covered in flowers. You can see they're covered in flowers. They're putting off some fruit. This is a mixture of snap peas and snow peas. I love these things roasted, but there is nothing like a fresh garden snack. So I'm eating these as I garden. And they're delicious, clearly. But look how good those peas are doing. So good. So this is about, I don't know, 10 or 12 pea plants. Again, snap peas and snow peas. So what I decided, with my garden every year I rotate it. So my beans are over here now. Next year my beans are going to be down here now. Or next year they're going to be down in the potato bed. So what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to plant this entire bean trellis with peas. And then plant beans after the peas are done. Because I want to test and see how long these beans take to produce. But I think the beans have a shorter window, so I think I can push back planting the beans until maybe the beans until the beginning of July, and then possibly we're gonna see how long these take. And then, but regardless, my plan is to put snap peas at least on half of this trellis, because this white trellis, which I love, it's just not enough peas for me. At least so far. I want to get enough to roast and have a nice side, and so far I've only done that once. So I'm thinking next year I'm really kind of going to double and triple how many bees. I think next year I'm really going to double and triple how many peas I do. So I can make sure I have plenty for my mom and I, because my mom loves peas too. So I think we have one more spring bed. So let's show you the spring bed, and then we're going to talk about future plans. And at the bottom of these beans, I do have some bush beans planted. And I did plant some bush beans under the broccoli. So I did go and put some bush bean seeds. So we'll see how well they come up under the broccoli. I might have to wait until I pull the broccoli, but I have some time on the broccoli yet. So I thought I'd plant them and see what happens. So this bed got very much overplanted. I definitely underestimated how big everything got. But my cauliflower that was doing a little bad, the cauliflower got heat shock when I brought it outside. It got too much light, so I burned it a little bit. So I didn't know that they were going to come back. And you can see, even the ones that were doing really poorly have come back. And they're starting to head up. You can see they're just starting to head up. And they're just starting to head up and form their cabbage heads. And then in there, I also have some Swiss chard. And the Swiss chard is oh, there's a strawberry. Look, there's a strawberry that a critter hasn't gotten. Oh, that's going to be another snack. But you can see how beautiful this Swiss chard is. Like, look at those colors. Those are incredibly vibrant colors, and they're all this beautiful. I am so excited I found this little strawberry, and this is why I love the garden. So sweet, so delicious. It's just all these little surprises. It's just all these little surprises, which are so fun. So that, I think, is the majority, or that's most of my spring plants. So beets, carrots, broccoli, peas, cabbage, and Swiss chard, and my kale. It is early June, and we're getting to the point where these things will come out of the bed probably in the next month. It's just going to be getting too hot for them, and we're going to have to take them out. So it's time to start thinking about, number one, what we're going to plant for the fall, when we're going to start those, and where we're going to put them. So with raised beds, and with gardening in general, unless you're heavily amending your beds, you want to practice crop rotation. So you don't want to put the same thing in the same spot year after year, because it just won't do well. My peas have always gone in the bed over there. That was just kind of the hodgepodge of flowers and broccoli, and the hodgepodge bed is what we're calling it, or hodgepodge bed is what I'm calling it. And they've gone over there for the past few years, and they've never ever done this well, ever. I am also making sure I fertilize once a month. So I planted and I fertilized when I planted. I came through about a week later, and I did a nice dose of some worm castings on all of my plants. And then I just fertilized again a month after the initial planting of my peppers and my tomatoes. But I just came back and I fertilized the peas again, the broccoli again, all that good stuff. And I think between switching beds and like a really nice fertilizer schedule, they're doing much better, and I think that's why. So I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do next and where I'm going to put it. So where the broccoli currently is, as I said, I planted some bush beans there. So I'm going to try to make that entire bed heavily planted with bush beans. So I have, like I said, I put some seed in there. We'll see what happens with those seeds. And then once I get the broccoli out, I do plan on going and do another round of the bush bean planting, again, just to kind of keep that staggered schedule, keep that rotational harvesting going, or that rotational planting going, to make sure I just kind of have a longer harvest. With my green beans, I love to eat fresh green beans so much. My TV back there is Vine green beans. But with these also, I give them to my dog. My dog eats. I make her food raw. It's chicken and rice and veggies and stuff. But green beans is one of the things she doesn't like, but it goes in her food. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm growing enough both for me to eat and for me to freeze for myself, and then for me to can for my dog. Where the kale is currently is where I'm planning on doing another round of broccoli. And I'm not even positive. I might do this bed here with broccoli too. My goal for this year, I've not tried frozen broccoli yet. I put back, I think, 4 quart bags of frozen broccoli. So I need to go ahead and try them. But my goal for this year is to freeze as much broccoli as I can, so that over winter I don't have to buy broccoli from the store. I can just use what I've grown this year and put it in the freezer, and again, to really try to diminish or kind of shorten how many things I need to buy from the grocery store. Again, saving money, still getting those fresh vegetables, and knowing that I grew them myself. So this year I have a really big push to grow as much broccoli as I can. I'm also going to try to do a fall round of cauliflower. I've tried cauliflower 3 times. Last year I had one head up, and I covered the head with its leaves. I tied the leaves together. It's called blanching it to keep it from going yellow, and it didn't work. It went yellow anyway. It stayed very small, and it yellowed despite being blanched. So I'm just thinking it might get too hot here for cauliflower. But I'm gonna try one more time again. I'm gonna try one more time to do cauliflower. I'm gonna do it in the fall. So right now it's just the time to think about when I want to start planting stuff. I think I'm gonna try to start the seeds for the broccoli and the cauliflower. I'm gonna start them, I think, the beginning of July, around July 1st. I've never had success with a fall garden. I've never had success. And I honestly think one of the biggest things about the fall garden is I'm kind of burnt out by the end. By the time it comes to plant the fall garden, I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. I don't care about it anymore. I'm ready for it to be done. But this year, I'm determined. I'm determined to have a fall garden. So we're gonna see. So I have big plans to start at least broccoli and cauliflower in 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And then I'm gonna do more beets and carrots. So I need to find out where I'm gonna put the beets and carrots. I don't really know. I might move everything around again. Every time I come out here, I have a plan, and every time I come out here, the plan changes. I'm also going to try to plant some more snap peas. Again, I've never done snap peas in the fall. I've never even attempted snap peas in the fall. So I'm gonna try to start them as well, and I'm gonna start them inside rather than direct seed. I don't know why. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. So now let's show you the summer garden. So that's the spring garden. That's what I'm harvesting from right now. I'm eating a lot of fresh broccoli. I'm eating a lot of peas. I'm eating a lot of Swiss chard and some kale. But that's pretty much, aside from the butternut squash I showed you earlier, that is the spring garden. So let's talk about the summer garden. So in this bed, I also have 2 butternut squashes that I'm just kind of moving out into the pepper bed, and they're doing really, really well. Let's see, there we have a butternut squash, and then there's one guy hiding in there who's making his way out. But look how big our peppers have gotten. Our peppers have done really well. So I have grown a garden many, many years successfully. Many years. It always makes me laugh how I doubt whether things are going to grow. So I put these peppers in the ground, and I'll be honest, I was watching them like a hawk for weeks. And I'm like, they're not doing anything. They are not growing. They're not doing anything. Well, they were. They went through a little bit of shock just from planting. But then they were really working on putting on roots, and they were bushing out. So my peppers have really bushed out. And one thing I noticed too, so again, I've grown peppers for years. Last year I tried for the first time topping my peppers, and I had great success with that. I started this year, and I didn't like how that was going, so I didn't top all of my peppers. And it wasn't a mistake, but from here on out, I need to learn to trust myself. Like, I've grown things before. It'll grow. It may not grow as fast as I possibly want it to, but things will grow. So let me show you the difference between topping it and not topping your peppers, and showing you what that looks like. So here we have a topped pepper, and here we have a not topped pepper. So you can see how right away this pepper is just so much bushier and leafier than this one. If we come down here, you can see how this has one main stem that has branched off into two, but it's just these two stems here. Whereas this guy, he still has two stems, but he's just branching out. He's just putting on leaves in every single direction. That guy right there, again, not topped. And you can see not as bushy, not near as pretty as this guy here. So if you wanted to top a pepper, and I still could top this guy at this point, I'm not going to, but I still could. So if you look in the armpit of the pepper, so right in here, in the armpit of the pepper, there is, that's a good one to show, if you can see it, there is a little kind of nodule. You can see this guy is starting to set some fruit, which is super exciting. You can see this guy again is just one main stem, but let's see if we bring you in here, you can see right there, there are those little nodules. So I would take and I would cut him right about there. And what would happen by cutting him, I'm cutting the top of his stem, so he's not going to send off that stem anymore because I cut it, but it'll send off all those little side shoots, those little nodules, and that'll create more branches, which will in turn create more fruit. It is not the same as a tomato in the sense that a tomato, if you let a sucker grow, will give you more fruit, but will give you smaller fruit. So a lot of times you want to prune your tomatoes so you don't have suckers. With peppers, you want those suckers to grow. They're not called suckers, but you want those little nodules to grow. And they will only grow if you cut off the top of the pepper. So I could do this now. It's not too late to top your peppers, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna let them go this year. But it is funny how every year I kind of question whether they're gonna do what I want them to do or not. And again, I've gardened for years, but I still doubt myself. I still doubt whether I know what I'm doing. And keep having to tell myself, Caitlin, you clearly know what you're doing because you've grown a lot of food for a lot of years. Well, for a couple years now, many years. But it just is always like, I don't trust myself. But the peppers are doing really, really great. I have that bed there. And then we'll take you over and we'll look at the bed over along the tomatoes. So they're doing really well. One thing with peppers too that I like to do, especially as they get tall, I like to go in and shake them. A pepper has both the male and the female parts that it needs to create fruit. So what happens is when a bee pollinates a pepper plant, the vibration of the bee's wings shakes the pepper flower and it gets all that pollen stirred up. The plant gets pollinated. So with peppers, if you just walk by and give their tops a little shake, like shake the whole plant, that's how you can pollinate it too. So especially now that I see that these guys they're all starting to set flowers, which is super exciting. I would like to see them bigger before they set flowers. You could go and I could pick off the flowers and that would just encourage more root growth and more plant growth. But I don't like doing that. So I'm gonna let them go and we're gonna see what happens. So I'm having a dismal showing for my corn this year. I probably had 30 ears come up. I'm not having a good time. And I don't know why. So this first patch came up real nice here and then not so much the rest of the way. I've even gone through and I've planted a second round. So I'm not real sure. So that back portion there, I do want to do another round of corn. I'm succession sowing. So that can honestly be done anytime. This corn is actually pretty tall. It's probably about my knee. And the saying is you want your corn to be knee high by 4th of July. So it's definitely there. So while all my corn hasn't done great things, the corn that has is looking really pretty. So I am really excited for what I have. But I am gonna go fill these back in. And when I do the second round of corn that's gonna be down further, hopefully it kind of fills in a little bit. But this was a brand new bed. I didn't amend this with any compost. I think I did half a bag of manure that I had left over, and that's really about it. So I didn't do too much on this bed, and that might be why I'm not having a big turnout with corn. I don't know. So again, I'm trying to not spend, I'm trying not to sink a whole bunch of money into this garden. Just trying to watch my money. So we get what we get, and then next year we move the corn over to where the beans currently are. This will be potatoes, so hopefully it'll kind of just get built back up until corn is back in this bed in 2 years' time. So I have some beans coming up on this trellis, and then got some thistle back there, but then if you look, there are no beans. No beans. So the rabbits have definitely been enjoying these beans. The green beans germinated marvelously, but they've been eaten away. So I just went and planted some more 2 days ago. So that again might be good for succession for my beans, because these guys are already starting to go. And you can see they're already setting off some nice little leaders. So I'm just gonna kind of attach them to lean them over so they can grow up my trellis. See right there we have one already wrapped around the trellis, which is exactly what we want. That's perfect. So that is super exciting. And then we have the tomato row. And then here is where things get very messy. The tomatoes are huge. I've started staking them. I need to go get more stakes this weekend because they are fallen over, but we have a really nice tomato row here. And then a pretty little sunflower. But there are some tomatoes back there. The tomatoes are looking gorgeous, and they are starting to flower. I have no fruit set yet, but they are starting to flower. I do hate that I have all this grass back here. That's a problem that I'm just gonna have to deal with another year. I'm not sure. But then I have another row of peppers here. Again, it's hard to see within the weeds, but what I'm gonna do, again, just with that cardboard, is I'm gonna come lay cardboard down the path so you at least know where you can walk. And then next year when I get more wood chips, I'll just keep adding wood chips, and then all of this is just really gonna feed that soil really, really well. So in this very weedy section, I have my sweet potatoes planted, and it is honestly hard. Let me bring you down here and show you. It is honestly hard to see where the sweet potato vines are compared to the violets, because the violets are taken over. I see I have a sweet potato right there. I have one there. So I kind of planted them in a line. I have a little one there. I have some over here. I have one somewhere over here. One right there. So the sweet potatoes are definitely hard to pick out. And I'm nervous to come in here. You can for the most part tell what is a violet and what is a sweet potato plant, but sometimes it is hard, and I don't want to yank up the wrong thing. So I'm just letting this go. And then again, I'm just saving cardboard. Once my sweet potatoes are harvested, again, I'm gonna just come heavily lay this with cardboard and with some straw. And then this next year, my beans are gonna go here. But I'll be able to keep it mulched heavily and then just plant beans. And just like here, I have my beans heavily mulched. So I don't have too much weed pressure here. So that's what I'm kind of hoping to do over there in the potato bed. My white potatoes are doing really, really well. They are huge. And this side, for some reason, did so much better than this side. But this side is just starting to go. See right there, I have a little guy that's popping up. There I have one that just started growing. A couple empty spaces, but for the most part, the potatoes are looking really well. Really good. So if you take you to the side, you can see that I've been mounding up my potatoes with straw. So this garden is planted Ruth Stout, which means it is planted in straw. So Ruth Stout was a woman, I believe, from the late 1800s who came up with this idea that she planted everything in straw, and it worked really well for her. So with this bed of potatoes, I literally just put the potatoes on the top of the soil, covered them with straw. I fertilized them with some potash twice now, and they've been growing. So with potatoes and dirt, if you cover them as they grow, if you cover them, their stem, they will continue to produce potatoes up the length of their stem. So I've never tried it with straw, but I thought, I feel like if they can grow in straw on the ground, they should be able to maybe grow in straw up here possibly. So I thought it's worth the experiment. So instead of hilling my potatoes with dirt, I'm hilling them with straw to see if it works the same way. So I've just been taking the straw and piling it up the course of the stem. And I'm actually gonna dig down in the one and see if I see any potatoes, you know, up this way. But you can see these guys, they keep growing really tall. So I definitely need to add some more straw to them. But let's dig into one and see what it looks like. Okay, I don't have any coming up the stem. Okay. I don't have any coming up the stem though, so I don't know. But I'm gonna try it. If anyone knows if this doesn't work, let me know so I can stop hilling. But I thought, what's the worst that can happen, right? If it works for dirt, maybe it'll work for straw. So the last thing I have to show you is my onions. So this year is a year I'm just dealing with so many pests. I really think I have a soil pest, especially with these beans. You can see down here at the bottom, they have a lot of holes, but as they kind of grow, the taller they get, they don't have as many holes as they did on the bottom. So that's just kind of leading me to think that this is some sort of soil pest. I did try to treat with some ladybugs and some nematodes, and I'm not sure if that's working or not. I have no idea. But let's look at this onion bed. So my onions have thripes. And what thripes are is it causes the onion to kind of shrivel up and curl. Causes some curling of your plants. And what I've noticed is that it rained last night, so when the onions get rain, they get water, they do straighten up. The green straighten up. These are the ones I'm kind of watching the most over here. They do straighten up, and they don't look as shrivelly and as curly. When they don't get watered, that's when they shrivel. So I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be a harvest that I can get or not. I am going to come in here and I'm going to top these onions because they are just so tall. They're so tall. So I'm going to come in here probably maybe tomorrow. But look how tall this guy is. And look how tall he is. He is huge. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give these guys a haircut. And hopefully that helps them stand up better. But that's also supposed to help them put into their roots, aka the bulb. And they won't produce as much greenery. They'll be working on feeding the bulb. So, which hopefully will mean a bigger bulb. So that's what I'm planning on doing tomorrow. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to get a harvest out of this or not. But I'm still going for it. I'm still hoping I do because I am so excited. So I did an experiment this year with my onions. I did starts and I did sets. So on the border of the onion bed, I did onion starts. So that's all of the greenery that we can see down both sides is onion starts. And in the middle, I put onion sets. So onion starts are the actual, it's greenery with a little bit of a bulb at the bottom. It looks like a plant start, onion starts. And they're supposed to give you the actual onion, whereas onion sets are the actual thing that looks like a little baby onion, and that's what you put in the ground. So I decided to do an experiment to see. I've always heard onion starts were the way to go, but I'm like, I'm gonna start with set. I'm gonna do some sets too and see what happens. So in here, I'm gonna put a video of what the onion starts looked like when they first populated, and I don't know why, but now they look like this. Look at all the onions. My onions are doing amazing, and I am so impressed with my lines. Do we see my lines? A few weeks have passed and I have no onion sets in this space. See, you can see I have one there and one there and one back there putting on a little onion. But this whole space was full of onion sets. And it was full of onion sets, and now I don't have hardly any left, and I don't know why. So I guess that I learned you don't do onion sets. I guess that kind of solved my problem. But I do have a lot of weeds in this bed. I do have some tomatoes growing in this bed, so I do need to come in here and weed and get this kind of figured out. And then last but not least, this is another bed that I have, and I just have some cosmos planted in here. I really want this to be just a beautiful flower bed. It has just started to kind of put on some flowers, but it's really been working on, you can see growing just some beautiful greenery and some weeds. It's been growing some weeds too. So I'm hoping to get out here tomorrow and do some weeding and just kind of, you know, cut those onions and just get some work done out here. So I was planning on doing a vegetable tour and a flower garden tour because I have a lot of things happening in the flower garden that I'm excited about. But this has been a long video, so I think I'm gonna break them up into two. So I think I'm gonna do this as the garden tour, and then I'm gonna do the flower tour later. And I have an exciting thing that I did. It's not going super well, but I did do a new project that I'm hoping by next year will be a lot better than what it is. So if you wanna see what that is, stay tuned and watch the flower garden tour. Because I think it'll be exciting. So as always, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I like making them. I think they're fun. And when I came out here today, I was in a sour mood. I was in a not happy mood. But hanging out with you guys, talking about my garden, being in the garden, talking about plants, it has made me feel better. So thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for being here. So I'll see you guys on the flower garden tour in the next couple of days.